well, that's the best that's going to happen anyway, so. A day full of surprises. Didn't go out on Saturday, although technically I did, but for a very short period of time. That video was the previous one. I thought, okay, same plan. Let's go out today, try to do some still photos. I did finish getting all of the footage edited from the other last weekend, but this weekend I thought, still photos. I'm in that mood, and also I went ahead and got some different equipment for this setup to do video. And finally, I checked the finances and went, ooh, an extra paycheck this month. That means I'll have a little bit of money left over. So, I got myself a better video tripod than what I've been using, and some setups to put this thing on rails and move everything that when I record video, I put on a mount off to the side. I'm going to put it under on the rails now. Should be easier. Anyway, still photos. That was my plan. And I didn't really plan on it, so I just came to a park that I've been to before. Thought, maybe I'll see some wildlife, maybe not. And I start walking around at 6 this morning. And I see some birds. And then I'm walking, and along the trail, I see something large and go, ooh, what's that? And it's a moose. I'm staring down a moose and went, uh-oh. So I back up very slowly, and the moose is cool. There's 2 of them, as a matter of fact. And I'm watching them for a while. I'm getting video. I hadn't planned on it, so I start, and I'm taking still photos. And then when I realize, I'm like, all right, don't seem to be in immediate danger. The moose is chill. I'm a good distance, a respectful distance away, and it knows I'm here, but it's not going to do anything. Then I go grab it in my bag to put the GoPro. I usually have a handle with the GoPro on it to get the shot, but I wasn't planning on that. I was just going to take some photos today. Ran into a pair of moose, or as I like to call them when they're a group, meese. Because the English language doesn't make any sense to me why you have goose and geese, but you don't have moose and meese. So they're meese. Anyway, I saw that. I saw a bunch of birds. Very happy about it. At one point, I'm walking along the river, down off the trail, and I see something up in the sky that's bigger. And I'm like, that's interesting, and it's gone already. And then a few seconds later, here it comes again, and it's got a fish. Now, I'm not sure. It was a bird of prey for some kind. I couldn't tell, even reviewing the photos here, because it's up in the sky, and it'll be difficult. When I'm editing, hopefully I'll be able to tell if it was an osprey or just a hawk, a type of hawk. I'm not entirely sure, but I'll find out about that. And then I definitely, as I'm walking back to the car after a few hours out there, I'm walking and I see something, a pair flit right in front of me, something small, and they're blue. I'm like, yes, mountain bluebird. That's what I've been looking for. Of all the things that are on my checklist to see before moving away from the mountains, the mountain bluebird is definitely one of them, and moose would have been another one. I have seen moose before, but this was close. Probably 2 females, no antlers or anything, but I'd have to check to see what time of year they shed antlers. It's May now. The 8th of May today. Yes, I think. Anyway, there was something else that I saw. One more thing real quick that was really interesting. I'm walking along a bridge at one point over the river, and the river's high. There's been a lot of snow melting and a fair amount of rain, so we got very high river levels. And I see a bird that is, I don't know what, maybe a wren, something like that, but it's big and thick and round, big ball of a bird, and it's on the rocks in the river, and then it dives in. It's not a diving bird. It's got a tiny little beak. It eats worms and bugs, and it's diving into the water. I've never seen anything like that before. So I start taking pictures, and I don't know if I managed to get any pictures. I need to swap this battery. I kept the windows open because I'm sitting where I parked. I'm right next to water, and there are birds around me, so I expected I might be taking more pictures. I really cannot focus through this windshield, but there's something out there on the water. Oh, you don't want to focus at all? All right. Binoculars, then. Anyway, so I'm not sure what that was. I'm hoping I'll be able to identify it. I think I got some decent photos, and then I tried switching over to video. That is a stick. From the Latin stick. Anyway, that was really interesting. I didn't expect to see any of that today. I was hoping, I keep hoping for the mountain bluebird because it's here. Honestly, if that wasn't on my list, I don't remember. I'll have to look. I've got it written down on the paper. We did a video earlier this year, months ago, about what I hope to see in 2023. And if the mountain bluebird wasn't on there, that was foolish of me, and it should be on there. Because that's definitely one that I want to get a picture or video or something of. So I'm very excited for the stuff to come in this week to be able to do video, and I hope to get back out for video next weekend. And it'll be good. We'll see. Moose. They're huge. Oh, I mean, I've heard about it, but until you are staring one 100 feet away, maybe? They're not that close. And they were there, and that just like turned the corner, and I'm looking at moose, and the moose is looking at me, and big moose, big. And they go up the hill, kind of, and there's houses. It's a very popular trail. I don't come here very often. It's just a once in a while thing, because it is so populated. And that was part of the problem. Here come dogs. This lady had dogs off the leash. More than one lady had dogs off the leash, but this one in particular had two dogs who see me and come barking up and running after me and sniffing me and doing that. And I'm like, there's moose. Don't just, and thankfully I don't think they did, but I yelled at the lady. I'm like, there's moose, and she's calling the dogs, and they're not listening. They're off leash. Oh, jeez. Eventually, they move far enough up the hill. They're keeping an eye on me. I'm keeping an eye on them. And I backed off a good bit to make sure they had plenty of space and didn't feel threatened, but they're chill. I'm guessing they're used to the populated area of here, this stuff, because even the dogs, there was another pair of dogs after sequence of events. I see moose, I back off. I watch moose for a while. Here come dogs with one lady, and the ladies, and like, thankfully, I'll say this. After that point, she continued on. She kind of snuck along, and that was where I was like, all right, they are chill. They're not going. I wouldn't have gone after it at that point, but at that point, they'd moved up the hill. They're just grazing, and they're not, they don't feel threatened by the people walking on the trail. So I walked further along at that point, and I keep going. And after a good 10, 15 minutes, here comes the lady the other direction going back. And this time the dogs are on the leash, and she said something about how I don't think the dogs even noticed them. I'm like, yeah, you're lucky. And then they keep going, and, just a few minutes after that, I hear yelling, I hear dogs barking. I'm like, oh no, they went after the moose. They saw him this time. And I go back over to see. I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, I don't want to be like, great, I'm going to get video of moose killing a dog, because that's exactly what would have happened. But I did go back over to see if I could assistance, I guess. But I look over, and it's a different lady with different dogs, and those dogs were running up towards the moose. But the moose, again, just chill. Didn't care. Moose did not feel threatened by barking little dogs, little corgi dog who thought, I don't know what. But again, second person who did not have their dogs on a leash, which, like, what are you doing? We are in territory where things like that are definitely possible. What are you doing? Anyway, good stuff though. Got to see the moose. Got to see a bunch of birds. Quite happy about that. Good time. First, let's take a closer look at that moose. Then we'll get to birds. And now for the birds. Starting with something a bit interesting that the camera does. Mallards typically don't have a purple head, but for some reason this one did in this image. Wasn't the mallard, because just a few seconds later, green in the next photo. Just the way the camera processes color sometimes. Weird. Then we have a crow sitting on a branch, and to be honest, the focus was kind of missed on this one. It didn't quite nail it, but for the second photo, its head turned, and you nailed it. And you can see it's doing a bit of a blink there. Eye is white. Either that or it's gone blind in one eye. Seems unlikely. It's probably blinking. You might actually think that this one was from a different day entirely, but no, just a trick of the light, because the sun had gone behind a cloud. Red-winged blackbird. I like the way this one came out. It's kind of peaceful, which is not how the red-winged blackbird is. This thing is screaming its head off. Like this, on the top of an electric pole. Screaming. They're loud, the red-winged blackbird. At one point, looked up and saw a heron. That was kind of cool. Those are big. And then this is unidentifiable. There is a bird in a tree, but it looks kind of neat. So, a cool picture. Not nearly close enough, not enough detail, and in shadow, so no idea what kind of bird. While recording the moose wasn't going anywhere, and here comes a bird flying right up onto the branches right next to where Michael is standing. So take a minute and turn the camera this way and get a few pictures of the bird, and then go back to recording the moose. Best guess for this one, yellow-rumped warbler? Not very confident on that. It's got a bit of the yellow to it, especially underneath, some of the gray. It's got a white around the eye, a little white as you can see on the wings. But it's really hard to tell. It's backlit, the sun is coming from the other direction, not the best possible angles or anything. Hard to say, but that is the best guess I got on that one. This is what they call a Peking duck, which, fun fact, was the name of a Chinese restaurant that we ate at growing up. This is a robin in a forest of white trees, which I thought was interesting. And this I have absolutely no idea what it is. It is a bird on the top of a tree, and I took several photos of it, and they just cannot identify what it is. It is not identifiable from these photos. Too dark, not nearly close enough, not enough distinguishing features. I don't know. But it's neat. This is one that we've seen before. Wasn't exactly sure, but it's got the gray around the face along with streaks of brown, and really what it needs is a good clear shot of the chest in order to see if it has the dark spot on the breast that would indicate that it is the same as what we've seen before, the American tree sparrow. And I'll give you a spoiler. We see another one. I'm probably same one a little later on. Definitely the American tree sparrow. But we got pretty close here. There it is, doing a little bit of a wince. And then a nice side profile. Bit of an angle. Pretty cool. There it is, straight on. Looking right at you. This was the one Michael was talking about, being up in the air, seeing it for a little bit, and then it disappeared. And, well, we'll see. A lot of white underneath and brown on the tips of the wings, and then a little further up from the tip, what they call the wrist, which is interesting. But because of that, and then very bright, hard to get pictures up in the sky, very hard. And then you can see the top of it is dark from this angle, and the head has a bit, I think it looks almost entirely white, but it's not. It does have a bit of color to it. It's just because the sun is so harsh at this point. We see these, and then it disappears, and it's back, and it's got a fish. Pretty sure this is an osprey. It makes sense, diving for a fish. Only other time I've seen an osprey was back in Wyoming, and it had a fish. Pretty interesting. That's what I think we've seen here. And then we have a crow with something in its beak. It was actually doing this thing where it would take whatever was in its beak and then slam it into that knot of the tree that it's standing on, and then come back up and then do it again a few times. I'm not entirely sure why, because I don't think it was food. I think it was a branch. It was almost like it was sharpening it, like it was about to use it as a knife. That's why they call it a murder of crows. More crow. And here's the American tree sparrow. Got a little closer, and there's the dark spot. That confirms it for sure. But nice clear images. Very pleased with that. And it jumped up onto the branches, and now it's kind of hiding behind a little bit. And then you get this straight ahead shot as it's looking more or less right at the camera. But with the sun being harsher later in the day and it's coming down, you almost have like a two-face effect, with half of it being in shadow. Just a good old American robin on top of some kind of cable. Always like the color of these. Really not sure what this one is. Very dark, silhouetted. It's doing a call. I can kind of make out it might be more American tree sparrow. Hard to say. And here we have the really interesting one for the day. This is the American dipper. It took me a while to find it because there is only one entry in both of the bird books that I'm looking through. But it's fascinating. It is shaped unusually for this kind of bird. I mean, for its behavior, I would not have expected it, and that's why I was so shocked when I saw it at first. But here, it's doing a little blink. It's standing there amongst the rocks. Very interesting. It's got kind of a lighter brown head, a darker body, and then it just disappears right under the water. I thought it had slipped, and I panicked. I was like, oh no, it fell in the water. Nope, it dove in the water and then came back up. It appears that they go as far down as New Mexico and then all the way up to Alaska. They've got quite a range there. Will swim underwater to obtain food. Found along mountain streams. Descends to lower elevations in winter. Yeah, this matches it. And it goes underwater again. And this is where it's all puffed up, like Michael was talking about, with its kind of a big, thick, chunky bird. It can do both, and even the bird books mention that they can kind of puffed up and round like that, or the more slimmer, as you saw, it does both. And this other bird book mentions, uncommon among clear, fast-flowing mountain streams with lots of exposed rocks and logs alongside. That's exactly what we were looking at. Solitary, there was only one. Perches on rocks along streams and dives underwater for aquatic insect larvae. There's insect larvae in the water? Ugh, I didn't know that. Look for droppings on exposed rocks to find favored foraging areas, then watch and listen. Well, that's kind of what I did. In the haste of this, looking at these various photos here, I also managed to get a clip or two. So we'll go ahead and play that. Camera did a weird thing where it went all dark for seemingly no reason, but I kind of like the way it turned out. It made it more mysterious, and it put a lot more focus on just how orange that rock looks. That wasn't me editing. That was just one of the many photos I was taking. One of them was just much darker than the others. And then we have the mountain bluebird. Very blue. Not the best of photos that I was able to get today, but I was really excited to see it. And it was on a rock. Again, we're kind of looking through something at this point. There's some more foliage in the way between the camera and the bird, but still, it counts for now. Cool photos, mountain bluebird. And then a duck. doing a quack. Pretty sure this is the brewer's blackbird because it's got the same kind of coloring. I think that's one we've seen before. More mountain bluebird. Now this, as soon as almost getting into focus, bird takes off. So just keep the camera going and snap as many pictures as you can. Still missing focus, but pretty cool to see in flight. Brewer's blackbird, definitely interesting. And even so, you can see it's almost like a puffed up, they kind of do that head bobbing thing. Between these two photos, you get the puffed out chest and then the head forward as it moves. More mountain bluebird, this time the female. The males are much more bright blue all over, and the females have more subtle blue to it, but it's still a gorgeous color. And another Peking duck. Then, while sitting in the car recording, had the windows open with the camera, was looking out the windows, and you see the red-winged blackbird just right there beside the car on the ground, doing some pecking around. That red is just very noticeable. Really cool. So that's all the photos that were taken. We'll go ahead and end the video with the just various nature landscape video that Michael captured.